Okay, I'm back to talk about the Chris Watts case. I became really heavily absorbed in it after my last video, and I wanted to dig deep into it and read the 2,000-page document. I didn't read all of it, but I did go through a lot of it, and wanted to bring back to you as much as I could. I want to clarify, first of all, that I am not a true crime channel, and there are definitely some other YouTube channels that are reporting on Chris Watts that do a magnificent job of really chronologically telling the story and adding videos and details throughout. And I would like to give a shout out to The Abyss. She did an amazing job with this story. So I am by no means trying to compete with her because I can't do what she did. She just did an amazing job telling the story, and I highly recommend, if you want to know about the story from the beginning to the end, I highly recommend looking at her YouTube channel. Her name is Clarissa with a C, Chic, C-H-I-C. Okay, with that said, I'm just going to talk about Chris Watts and the story and things that hit me and how I feel about it and what I see, I guess, and how it's kind of affected me. So a lot of people say he's a narcissist. Description of a narcissist: self-absorbed, egotistical. Interesting, because I don't get that he was like that before all this happened. I really got that he was a pretty, doting father, loving husband, and everybody loved him. Even his in-laws to this day say he was wonderful, and he was wonderful to Shanann and the girls, and it's like nobody really has a bad thing to say about him. So that's interesting that they keep using the word narcissist. I guess it was there, but it wasn't obvious in any way. It didn't seem to be. But, I don't know the guy. I wasn't with him 24/7. But from what I see in different accounts that people are speaking about him, he seemed to be a really nice guy. There's this story that I keep hearing about him being holding Shanann on his lap, or her laying on his lap. She wasn't feeling well. She has some medical conditions that she was lupus and some other things, I think. I know what they are. So I look up sociopath, or otherwise known as antisocial personality disorder. Basically just meaning that someone has a poor inner sense of right and wrong. Again, if this was something that was always going on with him, wouldn't that have been picked up earlier on? I mean, like I said, no one has had anything negative to say about who he was before this happened. Also, sociopath, it says they're unreliable, they're untruthful, insincere, lack of remorse and shame, inadequately motivated, antisocial behavior. That doesn't really fit. Poor judgment, and failure to learn by experience. Okay, so I think for sure, like, some of those things play into it for sure because of what he did, but it doesn't make sense to me for who he was before. So that is very confusing to me. Okay, so like even Shanann, there's text messages to her friends where she says that, everything that's happening between the two of them, this odd behavior of him just pulling away, saying he wants a divorce, she's just completely like, it's out of the blue. This is not the person that she was married to. So it is like this switch that just changed. So if you're always a narcissist or a sociopath, aren't those things that you would have like earlier on? I don't know. Okay, so I think that's strange and interesting at the same time. Okay, a few things that I'm curious about. When the police were coming through, I wonder how soon did they feel like it was him? Like, were they on to it right away? I mean, I know typically when there is something domestic like that, they typically look at the spouse. So I'm wondering, did they kind of know right away? I'd love to talk to those police officers and find out. Also, Nicole Atkinson, the neighbor who alerted the police that Shanann was not answering her phone or the door, I'm curious to know how soon she considered Chris a suspect. As she's standing there, with the body cam footage right next to him, like, is she in her mind looking at him thinking, it's probably him, he did something? I don't know. I would be so curious to know that. Also, how much of an ass does Chris look like to the police? He comes up and he says, well, and finally divulges that they're separating and, he's going to find his own place, whatever. Dude, you have 2 little kids and your wife's pregnant. Like, do you not realize like how bad you look right now? And you have this beautiful house, you're a beautiful couple, but you're like leaving? What? Like, hello? That doesn't even make sense. Like, that alone looks so super bad. Okay, so Chris was definitely left with the girls while Shanann went on this trip to Arizona for Thrive, which, by the way, like this whole Thrive thing, kudos to her for going for it and progressing as far as she did, because I think these tier-based companies are kind of gross, but damn, she did it because she had a Lexus, she was getting trips, she was, you know, people were following her and they liked what she had to say about it. So I applaud her for being able to go forward with this and getting as far ahead with it as she did, because I don't think that's very easy. I think that's pretty hard. And she did that with 2 little girls in tow, and she was pregnant on top of it. So I just want to give a shout out to Shanann for her involvement with Thrive and how well she was doing with them, because I find that to be commendable. So in my first video, I had messed up. I said that they were all smothered. Wrong. I guess in my mind, I was just thinking that oxygen was cut off. No, there's a difference. Shanann was strangled, and that was by Chris's hands. There were bruise marks on her neck. This is all in the 2000 page, as they call it, the data dump. I guess that's a term that's always been used for things like this. New to me, the data dump. So I did download the data dump, which is, yeah, it's long and really disturbing and amazing. Throughout it, there's phone numbers, not blacked out. They're just fully visible for you. There's phone numbers, there's addresses, there's personal messages that had gone back and forth between her and her friends. Chris and her, they're like, it's some personal stuff that has nothing to do with the case, which is a little, I don't know, like it's invasive. And I wonder if that was all okay to be out in the public. I mean, can you even call these numbers? Are they all disconnected at this point? I don't know. So yes, this document had a lot of information. So yes, Shanann was strangled, the girls were smothered. How they were smothered, no one's ever, oh, and something about Shanann. Okay, so the bed sheet that was found had her makeup on it. So, because it said residue, and I had to look that up a little further, it was her makeup. So in my mind, it sounds like she had been sleeping. Plus they found her in, you know, her G-string and her bra and shirt. Sounds like something that you would be in bed with, you know, but would you have checked on your children first when you got home that late just to make sure they were okay and sleeping? That's why we're not, you know, we'll never really know, as Michael O'Rourke says, the DA for the county, I think it's Weld County, oh boy, I'm forgetting that. The DA says that, you know, we'll probably never know the order of how they were murdered, but Shanann's makeup was on the sheet, which leads me to believe that, you know, he had put so much strength into her neck area that God, it's so it's upsetting that it had pushed her face against the sheet so much there was makeup on it. So it sounds like that's probably what happened. Okay, back to when the police show up. Shanann's mother is contacted throughout this beginning stages when they're trying to find the girls and Shanann. And it isn't long before Shanann's mother is saying, you need to check his GPS on his truck. And she says Christopher had done something and that she was certain. That's very telling that she was able to pick up on that so soon. So thankfully there was a GPS system on his truck, and thankfully he was not so smart in cleaning up his mess, and the police were able to find like everything. The footage of the neighbor, when the neighbor is showing the police his security camera footage of Chris's truck backing up into his garage, that footage, obviously Chris isn't thinking that there's a policeman with a camera on him and it's, you know, shooting directly at him and catching his reaction. Oh my God, the guy couldn't look more guilty. He's got his hands on his head. He's like, he is sweating it out. My God, what did they see? Did they see me carry the bodies out? I mean, I'm sure he was ready to put his hands behind his back in that moment. What I do wonder, lots of things I wonder, did he really think he was going to get away with this 100%? Did he ever envision that he would get caught and be put in jail? I wonder about that. I wonder if he did this all and then thought, never had the vision of possibly ever going to jail. Maybe he really thought that he had done everything so well that he would never get caught. Maybe the jail thing wasn't even in his mind. Who knows? So after Chris views this footage and that he walks out, this neighbor says to the police, something's not right. He's rocking, something's not right with him. He picks up on it right away. So they had to be, clearly they were on to him very soon. I think about the house. I think about that house and how that house isn't even sellable anymore. How could anybody live in that house now? So I wonder what will happen to that house, the value of it. I wonder what will happen to the neighbors' houses nearby it. I wonder about people driving by and looking at the house for a long time coming. I know for O.J. Simpson, there's a tour that you could take in L.A. to go from the path from his house to Nicole's house. It's crazy. Like, there's actually a tour you can take. I hope to God that that doesn't happen for Shanann and the girls, with people being curious, but I think it probably will. Okay, so going back to the murders, this is the hardest part, obviously, and also the recovery of the bodies is really, really hard to fathom, and I give so much credit to the men that had to retrieve them. And I can't imagine how they go on after seeing what they saw. So, you know, Chris had never murdered anybody before. He didn't know what it was going to feel like. And he didn't know, maybe, I don't know if he researched it or not, how long it would take. I just can't imagine doing it and realizing you successfully did it. We don't know who he did first. We don't. If he murdered the girls or smothered them before Shanann got home, then he already kind of had an idea of how it would go. But I can only imagine that you have this thought of doing it, and then you're doing it, and then it works, and then I did it, and then you're looking at your lifeless child in your house that's supposed to be alive, and you're gonna do it again? Like, and there's not this like feeling of like, oh my God, what did I do? No, you go and do it again. And then I don't know why I have it in my head that Bella was second, or, you know, after Shanann, or I don't even know. But the fact that Bella fought back, and in the report, she had bit her cheek, she had bit her tongue, she was struggling to breathe. Her frenulum, which is this little thing up here in her mouth, was torn. And I just can't imagine the horror that this little girl went through. Thinking about, I mean, we all know how it feels to be underwater and you're needing to get up for that breath. How it would feel to not get that breath and know that there's a human being holding you down. Whether she knew it was her dad or not, we don't know. Okay, just tears me up. And Cece didn't have a struggle, so they think that maybe she was asleep. They think maybe both the girls were asleep. Other people don't think that. Other people think that maybe they witnessed Shanann being strangled and he just turned on them. We don't know. Okay, I want to mention the name of the officers that retrieved the girls from the tanks, which was quite a process. They had to basically drain both the tanks. And Chris, by the way, thought that he could put them all in the tanks and that he would get away with it, and he might have, but Shanann couldn't fit through the hole. So he panicked and he dug a shallow grave and put Shanann in it. She was found in a fetal position, face down. Apparently her buttocks was 8 inches above the top surface of the earth, so she wasn't actually under all the way. She had had a coffin birth. It's C-O-F-F-I-N, meaning that Nico, her baby, had expelled partially, and that's due to, from what I've read, gases that build up in the body after somebody dies. So yeah, horrific, absolutely horrific. And the girls, so he couldn't fit Shanann. He admitted he couldn't fit Shanann in there. He knew he couldn't, so that's why he dug the grave for her. For the girls, he took them up one at a time, he admitted. And he knew that one well was deeper down than the other because he could hear by the splash. These were his children. These were his children. He could hear by the splash how deep one was and how the other one was deeper. And so they drained the wells. They found Bella face up, floating in the oil. These men had to go on Trooper Brandy, Sergeant Armstrong, okay, Trooper Reader, and it says O.L. Wilson is the one who wrote the report. And they had to pull them out. And the oil had obviously affected their skin, so they call it skin slippage. It also is part of just death in itself. And Bella's hand actually, it came off, like backwards. They said her nails were still on there. This is so gruesome and so horrible. It's just an absolute nightmare. I don't know how these men had to deal with this. I don't know how they got through it. Cece was found in her diaper and a t-shirt, her little t-shirt that she wore to bed. And, you know, I could only think about him walking up, cradling these girls one at a time and pushing them through. And we know because of the report that Bella didn't fit so easily, so he had to push her through, and she had a scratch on her buttocks, and I think there might have been a scratch on, it was her left side, I believe, in her left shoulder. So she didn't fit well. He had to push her in. And then somehow he managed to go back within hours and meet up with the police and put on this whole, he had no idea where they were. Like, I think most people, and I know people say, well, he's not most people, he's not normal, would be vomiting their guts out thinking about what they just did. How do you stand there so normally? Is it really because Nicole Kessinger is that amazing? My God. There's a lot more to talk about and getting into the whole affair with him and Nicole Kessinger, and I'll probably do that separately. And this is not something to really end on, but it's just kind of like odd and so interesting. There's people writing to Chris in jail. This lady, Tammy, we got to read her letter. We even have her address, and we have photos that she sent to Chris in jail. She basically says, she says that she's not some crazy lady who writes to men in prison. Except you are. You did that. Anyways, it's cuckoo. And we get to see all of it. How embarrassing for these women. Their letters were completely exposed in this data dump. Everything they wrote. Their names, their addresses, there's even phone numbers. It's insane what we've been able to see. So anyways, yeah, good luck with that, Tammy. I guess the last thing I want to say right now is that I think the Frederick Police Department did an unreal job, amazing job of getting him to confess. That Tammy, the one who did the polygraph, love to give her a hug. What an amazing job she did. It was really an honor to watch these two police officers do their jobs and do them so impeccably well to get this man to confess. And it's pretty awesome that we have that footage, and I think people need to see how hard the police departments do work for us and how amazing they are in keeping us safe and putting the bad guys where they should be. So thank you to them. And I would like to end this by just letting Shanann's family know, if they were to ever see this, how sorry I am for what they're going through. And my thoughts and wishes and prayers are with you and your family. And I hope you know that there's a nation mourning with you. We have been completely traumatized by what happened. And we're hurting with you too. Okay guys, I'm a mess in these videos. This is hard stuff to talk about. Let me know if you want me to go on with any more of it. This was kind of the bulk of what I wanted to talk about, and I knew it was going to be emotional. It just is. It's emotional stuff. Having kids of my own, it's just something I can't fathom. And I still don't understand him. I don't understand him because he just seemed like such a nice guy. I don't know how somebody could just go from normal to crazy and show no signs of it. It's just bizarre. Okay, I'm gonna go have myself a good cry now. I think I need to. Bye guys.